Okay, so let's paint a picture for a minute. It's Christmas morning, or maybe a birthday. You've spent weeks, planning this perfect day.
The Hallmark movie moment.
Exactly. The living room looks perfect. There's something wonderful cooking. And then, maybe 10 minutes in, it just implodes.
You hear the sound of a brand new toy, probably an expensive one, hitting the wall.
Or just screaming.
Yeah.
Or a kid who's suddenly sullen and just refuses to come out of their room. It's that classic paradox in fostering. You create this perfect day, and the child seems hell-bent on ruining it. And it feels so personal.
It feels incredibly personal. But, when you look at the experiences of veteran carers, it's almost predictable. In fact, if we look at guidance from the Center of Excellence in Child Trauma, it's not just predictable, it's actually logical.
And that's what we're really unpacking today. We're going to look at the mechanics of what people call sabotage during big celebrations, and then we're going to look at the wider complexities of fostering across different cultures during these really high-stakes holidays.
We've gone through a whole stack of sources for this one. Everything from, carers in the trenches like Lisa from Foster Talk and Katie from Adopt Informed, all the way to clinical guidance from that Center of Excellence and agency reports from places like Capstone and Safe Houses.
Yeah, and the mission here is to fundamentally shift how you, the listener, view what looks like ungrateful behavior.
Because the thesis is this: celebrations in care are not just about having fun. They are these high-stakes emotional minefields. They bring up everything: loyalty, identity, old trauma triggers.
So let's start with that word, sabotage. Because I think for any care, when you see a kid just kick off at the dinner table or smash a gift you literally just gave them, it looks like one thing.
Ingratitude.
Pure ingratitude, bad behavior.
It does. And that's where so many of us get stuck. But the Center of Excellence in Child Trauma, they frame it totally differently. They argue sabotage isn't an attack on you. It's a defense mechanism for them.
Right.
It all comes down to what they call the internal working model.
Okay, so break that down for us. Internal working model.
It's basically the child's internal blueprint, their rulebook for how the world works, and more importantly, who they are within it. And for so many children who've experienced attachment trauma, that blueprint says, I am bad, I am unworthy of love, people will eventually hurt me.
Right. So how does a pile of presents on Christmas morning trigger that specific belief?
Well, it creates this huge cognitive dissonance, this internal static. If my internal reality is I am unlovable, but the external reality is, look at all these gifts, look at this wonderful family, those two things just don't match.
It feels fake.
It feels fake, it feels dangerous, their world suddenly stops making sense.
So the environment feels unsafe because it's too nice.
Yeah.
Because it's breaking their own rules about themselves.
Exactly. So subconsciously, they have to fix it, they sabotage, they smash the toy, they start a fight, they make you angry, and the second you start yelling at them,
The world makes sense again.
the world makes sense again. The external reality I'm being shouted at now aligns with their internal feeling of being bad. The dissonance is gone. They've, in a very strange way, restored order to their own universe.
That is just so incredibly counterintuitive. They have to push away the love before the love has a chance to push them away.
It's pure self-preservation, and then you have to layer the loyalty conflicts on top of that. Think about it. If a child lets themselves have a truly magical, happy Christmas with you, what does that say about their birth family?
That they're betraying them, that they prefer you.
Or that they're having this amazing time while their mom or dad is alone and can't give them these things. The guilt can be absolutely paralyzing. So blowing up the day is actually a way to escape that guilt.
So if I ruin it, I don't have to enjoy it, and if I don't enjoy it, I don't have to feel guilty.
Precisely.
This reminds me of a story from Adopt Informed with Katie. It wasn't about gifts, but it's a perfect example of how easily we misread these triggers. The restaurant story.
Oh, the road trip one, yes.
So she's at a fast food place with her family. They're sitting outside. Their dog is with them. Everything's calm. And then suddenly, one of the kids just flips the switch. Becomes incredibly rude, starts bossing everyone around, shouting at the dog. Just a total tyrant out of nowhere.
And the standard parenting playbook says, you shut that down immediately. Stop being rude. We are doing something nice for you.
Which is what she almost did.
Yeah.
But she paused. And she pulled the child aside to sort of investigate the behavior. And it turned out the family at the next table, they also had a dog.
And it wasn't just any dog.
No. It was the exact same breed of dog that had bitten one of the child's biological siblings years ago. a bite that needed stitches.
So it wasn't bad behavior, it was a trauma response.
The child wasn't being a brat. The child was terrified.
And this is something the Center of Excellence really hammers home. Fear often looks like control. When a traumatized child feels unsafe, they try to control everything in their environment to feel safe again. They get bossy, loud, aggressive, because they feel their own internal control just slipping away.
But here's the challenge, right? For anyone listening, you're in that moment. The kid is screaming or they're breaking things. Even if you know intellectually that it's trauma, you still have a broken printer. You still have a ruined dinner. How do you actually handle it?
You have to prioritize the relationship over the behavior, just for that moment. There's this model called peacefulness, acceptance, curiosity, empathy. And there's a great story they tell about a child who jammed a fork into the printer.
A fork in the printer. I'm guessing that didn't end well for the printer.
It was broken. And look, that's annoying. Printers aren't cheap. But the carer knew that yelling would just dump more shame on a child who was already drowning in it. So instead, they used playfulness. They walked over, looked at the printer, and said, well, that's a novel place to store the cutlery. I'll just grab a spoon for the paper tray.
I can see how that would diffuse the tension, but isn't there a risk there? That you're sort of rewarding bad behavior by joking about it.
That's the common fear. But you're not rewarding it, you're de-escalating the shame. When a child is in that fight or flight state, their thinking brain, their prefrontal cortex is completely offline. They physically cannot learn a lesson. The joke breaks the tension, it lowers their defenses, and it helps bring that thinking brain back online. You can talk about why we don't put forks in printers later.
Right.
But in the moment, your only job is to stop the spiral.
So the goal isn't discipline, it's regulation. Get them back to a place where they can even hear you.
Precisely. Which, brings us to the logistics of the day itself. How do we stop that fuse from being lit in the first place?
And the sources are pretty much unanimous on this. And honestly, it's a bit of a killjoy for those of us who love a big reveal.
No, it's tough.
They all say, ditch the surprises.
We associate surprises with joy, don't we? But for a child whose history is trauma and neglect, unpredictability just equals danger. The Center of Excellence has a really strict rule on this. No surprises. Keep the routine as normal as you possibly can.
I was reading this piece from a carer, Lisa, that really drove this home. She talked about something she called the iPad incident.
Ah, yes. This is such a classic example of good intentions gone wrong.
So they gave a young boy an iPad for Christmas. It was the big gift.
Yeah.
The main event. But they hadn't, fully locked down all the safety settings. And on Christmas Eve, he accessed some really inappropriate material. They caught him, and they had to take the iPad away.
On Christmas morning.
Oh, that's devastating for everyone.
She said he called it his worst Christmas ever. But looking back, she realized the problem wasn't just the internet safety, it was the pressure of the big gift.
A gift that expensive almost feels like a contract, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like saying, I am giving you this incredibly valuable thing, so now you must be a good boy. That is such a heavy burden for a child who already feels worthless.
It almost guarantees they'll mess up just to get out from under that pressure. Yes. So her advice now is to lower the stakes, spread the gifts out. Don't do that one giant mountain of presents. She says for older kids, hampers are great. It's lots of little low-pressure things rather than one giant anxiety object.
There was one other little logistical tip from her about Santa that I had never even considered, but it makes perfect sense.
The geography of the sack.
Exactly. The tradition says Santa comes into your bedroom while you're asleep and leaves the presents at the foot of your bed.
Now just think about that from the perspective of a child who might have experienced abuse or intruders in their home at night.
A strange man coming into my bedroom while I'm asleep and vulnerable. It's terrifying.
It's absolute nightmare fuel. So the advice is so simple. Give the child control. Just ask them, where would you feel safe for Santa to leave the gifts? Maybe it's outside their door. Maybe it's downstairs. You prioritize their feeling of safety over your family's tradition.
And that idea of prioritizing their needs over our traditions. That's a perfect segue. We've talked about emotional safety, but we have to talk about cultural safety because celebrations are so deeply tied to identity.
This is a massive area, especially when you look at the demographics. According to Capstone Foster Care, something like 84% of long-term carers in the UK are white.
84%.
Yeah. But around 24% of children in care are from minority ethnic groups.
So statistically, the odds are very high that you're going to have transcultural or transreligious placements.
Yeah.
You might be a white Christian family fostering a Muslim child or a secular family fostering a child from a very devout background.
Correct. And that's where this concept that Capstone highlights comes in. Every carer needs to know about it. It's called the dilution fear.
Dilution, that sounds...
It is. It's the risk that if a child lives outside of their birth culture for too long, they become, well, diluted in the eyes of their own community. So when they eventually return home, and many do, they might be seen as other. They've lost the cultural codes, maybe some of the language, the religious touchstones.
So as a carer, if you just ignore their culture during the holidays, you're not just making them feel left out in the moment. You could actually be damaging their ability to reconnect with their own people down the line.
Exactly. So the whole mindset has to shift from assimilation, which is come and join our Christmas, to inclusion, which is we will help you celebrate and maintain your identity.
You know, Capstone had this really interesting reverse example. A carer named Rebecca. She's white and an atheist, but she lives with her parents who are Indian Muslims, and she fosters successfully.
Which proves the point, right? The placement doesn't have to be a perfect DNA match. Rebecca isn't Muslim, but the environment she provides respects and facilitates that identity. It's about the effort, not the ethnicity.
So let's get practical. What does that effort actually look like? What are the non-negotiables?
Well, it starts with the body, skin and hair. If you are fostering a child with Afro-Caribbean hair, you can't just use whatever shampoo is in the shower. You have to actively learn the specific routines, go out and find the right products, find the right barbers. That's not just grooming. That's telling a child, I see you and I value who you are.
And food, I'm guessing, is a big one.
Food is a huge love language, but it's not just about ordering a takeaway from their culture. It's learning to cook the dishes. It's making sure that if you are a white family fostering a Muslim child during Ramadan, you are getting up before sunrise to make suhoor for them. You're participating in the sacrifice with them.
And you can't be their only link to their culture. Either you can't be the sole bridge.
No, that's so isolating for them. You have to seek out events, go to places where they aren't the only minority face in the room. That cultural continuity is just vital for their sense of self.
And this all loops back to that sabotage idea. If a child feels like enjoying your Christmas means I'm no longer Muslim or I'm forgetting my heritage, that is a massive loyalty conflict waiting to happen.
You have to remove that binary choice. They should never have to choose between their new home and their origins. If they feel like they're betraying their roots by eating your Christmas dinner, they will find a way to sabotage that dinner.
Which brings us to the ultimate origin, right? The birth family. That empty chair at the table is always loudest during the holidays. How do we manage the actual contact?
It's so tricky because logistics often get in the way. Lisa from Foster Talk shared a story about one year where the contact center, the neutral place where visits happen, closed for 2 whole weeks over Christmas.
That's just a nightmare. Basically, sorry, it's Christmas, so you can't see your mom.
Exactly. It just reinforces that feeling of being second class. So Lisa and her husband, they improvised. They held an early Christmas at the center right before it closed. They brought snacks, they swapped gifts, they bridged that gap so the child didn't feel abandoned over the holidays.
And that story had such a hopeful progression. Years later, once the trust was there, they actually invited the birth parents to their foster home on Christmas morning.
That really is the gold standard. It takes so much courage, and it has to be safe, of course. You can't do that in every case, but just think what that does for the child. If mom and dad are right here eating toast with us, the loyalty conflict it evaporates. I don't have to choose. I can love everyone in this room.
But what if contact isn't safe? Or what if parents just don't show up? We talked about that guilt of enjoying the day. How do you help a child with that?
A really simple but powerful strategy is sending cards and gifts to the birth parents, even if you know they might not write back. Even if you know the parents might sell the gift. It's not about the parent, it's about the child. It gives the child a way to express their love. It says, I haven't forgotten you.
Right. If the child knows their parent has a gift from them, they feel like they have permission to open their own presents. It turns it from a passive loss into an active connection.
There's also a great book recommendation that came up. It's called The Invisible String.
I've heard of this one. It's a visual metaphor, isn't it?
Yes. It teaches children that there's an invisible string of love connecting them to everyone they care about, no matter how far away they are. It's a really tangible tool to help with that separation anxiety that just spikes during holidays.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. The deep psychology of emotional sabotage, why they break the toy, the practical stuff like safe gifting hampers, not iPads, and the huge imperative of cultural preservation and managing that birth family connection.
It's a heavy load for any carer. It really transforms a holiday from a break into a workday.
So if we had to distill all of this down, for someone listening, someone gearing up for the next big celebration, what is the single most important takeaway?
I think you have to completely redefine what success looks like. We go into these days wanting that perfect Instagram moment, the perfect day. But for a child in care, perfect is pressure. Perfect is terrifying.
So we just lower the bar.
We change the goal. Aim for a safe day. A safe day might still involve a meltdown. It might involve a smashed toy. That is not a failure. If you can respond to that smashed toy with empathy, with that fork in the printer playfulness instead of with anger, then that was a successful Christmas.
It's accepting that the behavior isn't an insult. It's a cry for help.
And on the cultural side, it's about making sure that child never feels like they have to check their identity at your front door. Their heritage should be the guest of honor.
You know, I want to leave our listeners with a thought that really struck me reading through all this. We talk a lot about inclusion in society. And usually we think of that as inviting someone to our party. Come on in, join our tradition, eat our food.
But in fostering, that's just not enough.
No. True inclusion, in this context, might mean changing the party entirely. And it begs the question, are you really ready to let go of your own traditions? Your specific way of doing Christmas morning, your set menu to make space for theirs? Are you willing to change the shape of your family to fit the child, rather than forcing the child to fit the shape of your family?
That is the ultimate test of a therapeutic parent.
Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
See you in the next deep dive.